my beautiful people out there, it's Vi. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that's a little, well actually it's very different than what I usually talk about. Usually I'm talking about like trans rights, how I'm feeling, stuff that's happening in my life. Well, I guess this kind of does tie into the last one. Okay. I recently, as I mentioned in the last thing I posted, I fell down a rabbit hole. And I found a bunch of videos about people who have dissociated identity disorder. Sorry, I'm looking at my computer screen because it has a bunch of stuff typed up that I did research on because I was actually curious about it. And honestly, like I think I also said this in the last one, I fit the bill pretty well for a lot of this. But I'm not going to jump to any conclusions, but I am going to share what I found out and I've typed up. So, let's start off with some signs. That these signs and symptoms depend on the type of dissociative orders you may have, but they may include memory loss, amnesia of certain time periods, events, people, and personal information, a sense of being detached from yourself and your emotions, a perception of the people and things around you being distorted or real. A little iffy on that one, but I can see why that might affect somebody. A blurred sense of identity. Significant stress or problems in your relationships, work, or other important areas of your life. I wouldn't be doing this if I had a job right now. It's 4 in the morning, and I can't sleep. And I think I'm getting a cold, that's why my voice is a little weird. Another story. Inability to cope with emotional or professional stress. Mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts and behaviors. Now, all of this are things that I've dealt with or I am dealing with, but, I know there's going to be people like, that doesn't necessarily mean you have this, and that's true. I've been in this mental health thing long enough to know that. As someone who's been misdiagnosed, re-diagnosed, and probably misdiagnosed again, though I'm not 100% sure on that one, I've been in this whole thing since I was about 6, 7, or 8 years old. So, I get that. Trust me. Now, there are 3 major dissociative disorders defined in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or DSM-5, published by the American Psychiatric Association. Can't talk today. The first is dissociative amnesia. Its main symptom is memory loss. It's more severe than normal forgetfulness, like I have, and it can't be explained by medical condition. So, I think I'm immediately out of this one. You can't recall information, events, people, especially from a traumatic time. Dissociative amnesia can be tied to a specific event, such as certain times, intense combat, or rarely, though, you have a complete loss of memory about yourself. Not me. Well, kind of me, but not really. It may sometimes involve travel or confused wandering away from your life, aka dissociative, I don't know how to pronounce this word, F-U-G-U-E. I think it's pronounced Fogue, or something like that, Foog. Somebody tell me how to pronounce that, please. An episode of amnesia usually occurs suddenly and may last minutes, hours, or rarely months or years. If you have this, my thoughts are out to you. Good vibes. Dissociative identity disorder, what I believe that I have. Formerly known as multiple personality disorder, this disorder is characterized by switching between alternate identities. You may feel the presence of 2 or more people talking or living inside your head, and you may feel as though you're possessed by other entities. I have noticed this. Each identity may have a unique name, yes, personal history and characteristics, including obvious differences in voice, gender, mannerisms, and even such physical qualities as the need for eyeglasses. There are also differences in how familiar each identity is with the others. People with D.I.D. typically also have dissociated amnesia and often have dissociative phobia. Still don't know how to pronounce that last word, but sounds very much like what I've been dealing with lately. And the last one is depersonalization derealization disorder. Try saying that 5 times fast. This involves an ongoing and episodic sense of detachment, or being outside of yourself, observing your actions, feelings, thoughts, and yourself from a distance as though you're watching a movie depersonalization, other people and things around you may feel detached and foggy or dreamlike. Time may be slowed down or sped up, and the world may seem unreal to you, derealization. You may experience depersonalization, derealization, or both, symptoms which can be profoundly distressing. Stressing and distressing. Well, why not? It may last only a few moments or come and go over many years. Reading through these, and like I did last night, I fit D.I.D. a little bit better. Now, I have actually kind of shortened these, so I don't have to keep saying the long names over and over. The first one I called D.A., obviously D.I.D., and D.D.D. Not to be confused with the Kirby character. Don't start with me. Okay, now, let's talk causes for a second. These disorders usually develop as a way to cope with trauma. They mostly form in children subjected to a long-term physical, sexual, or emotional style of abuse. I myself have been verbally and emotionally abused for a long time. And it started when I was very young. And, whether it was their intention or not to do that is irrelevant. It happened. And less often, a home environment that's frightening or highly unpredictable still happens, which was also kind of the case for me a little bit. Stress of war or natural disasters also bring on dissociative disorders. So if you are a victim in, like, a bombing or a natural disaster hits your home, and you're a young kid, you may have a chance to develop this. Or if you're an adult and that happened when you were a kid, you may have it now or you may not. No one's quite sure until they get checked out, which I still need to do that. And I got a lot of stuff to do before that, but I'm going to do it. Personal identity is still forming during childhood. So a child is more able than an adult to step outside of him or herself, or themselves, if you guys want to be political about it, and absorb trauma as though it's happening to a different person. A child who learns to disassociate in order to endure a traumatic experience may use this coping mechanism in response to stressful situations throughout life. I know how this is, and I know how it feels. This stuff may sound crazy, you guys, but I've lived some of this stuff, and I get it. I'm reading this, and the only thing going through my head is, this is my life. This is my life on a medical page. I copied this word from word from something that I found. Alright, now we have risk factors. Every mental disorder has a risk to it. That's kind of the sad truth of the matter. People who experience long-term physical, sexual, or emotional abuse during childhood are at greatest risk of developing dissociative disorders. Me. And a bunch of other people on YouTube. Hi there. To all you people who talk about this stuff. Children and adults who experience other traumatic events such as war, natural disasters, kidnapping, torture, or extended traumatic early life medical procedures. Me. Also may develop these conditions. I promise I'll try to stop saying me, but it's kind of hard not to. Complications. People with dissociative disorders are at an increased risk of complications and associated disorders such as self-harm or mutilation, scars on my arm, suicidal thoughts and behaviors, yes, sexual dysfunction. I looked it up. Basically, I'll talk about it a little bit later. It does happen, and it's mainly that you can't get aroused. Me. Alcoholism and drug use disorders. I used to be a drinker. I want to say that right now. I used to drink. But I don't anymore. I've managed to cut that out. Depression and anxiety disorders. PTSD. Personality disorders. I think it's a little ironic to have this on this list, because it's talking about personality disorders with personality disorders. Maybe it's talking about ones that aren't directly involved. That's neither here nor there. Sleep disorders, including nightmares, insomnia, and sleepwalking. Eating disorders. I usually eat too much. That's technically an eating disorder. Physical symptoms such as lightheadedness or non-epileptic seizures. I am constantly lightheaded. Not fun. Major difficulties in personal relationships and at work. I fit so much of this, and I know I've already said it, but it's hard not to identify with this when I've been through all of this. Alright, well, let's talk about why I believe I have D.I.D, also known as dissociative identity disorder, starting with I'm going to kind of go over the symptoms and complications that I had that match. Memory loss, amnesia of certain time periods, events of personal information. I personally had this happen at various different times. Sometimes I find myself in another room, with no real recollection of why I was in there, with strange things downloaded to this phone, that I really had no idea how I got there, including pictures from the internet, apps, and even pictures of people I don't remember talking to. Other times, I would find myself somewhere in town, not knowing why I was there or anything about walking. Because clearly I walked. I don't have a lot of money to go, take an Uber. So, yeah, that happened. A sense of being detached from yourself and your emotions. Getting a little inside baseball here, I almost always feel this way. I know it doesn't come across much in these videos, but I do feel this way. It's kind of a scary thing to think about, that you're detached from who you are and your emotions. Like, I could be doing very routine things, but I will show no emotion while I'm doing them. And it's not because, I'm not happy to be doing it. It's more that I don't feel anything. And it could be something I enjoy. I would still feel pretty much nothing. I'm completely detached from myself. And it's hard to explain, but it's terrifying to me, and I'm bad at explaining, so bear with me on that one. A perception of people and things around you as distorted or unreal. Now, this one's complicated for me. Yeah, I feel like this world isn't real, including people and things, but I don't know if that's due to personal belief, due to my belief in the simulation theory, or if it's because of what's up here. It could be either or. I'll have to talk to someone about that. A blurred sense of identity. Oh boy, I have this one. Sometimes I'm not even sure who I am anymore, and it's very confusing. Significant stress or problems in your relationships, work, or other important parts of your life. Yep, definitely sounds like me, alright. I've had issues keeping a girlfriend in the past. I lost a fiance in the past. And I've rarely been able to hold down a job. It's rough. And I didn't realize that it might have been because of this. Because it does have a lot of stuff that I deal with on a daily basis. So, inability to cope with emotional or professional stress. Yep. Me in a nutshell. I crumble under both of these types of stress. You could put me in a normal work situation, it could be a slow as hell day, but if you give me 20 things to do, normal people are like, I'll do what I can. Me, I will overthink it and stress myself out. And same thing with emotional kind of stress. I'm easily stressed out with everything, I think. Mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts and behaviors. Chalk me up for all three. Those are things I know all about, and I know I have. Because I deal with them every fucking day before I record. That's not a lie either. I actually do have severe anxiety before I do this. So, I'm honestly just going to say I have 6 out of 7 of these, since there's that one I'm not sure about. Anyway, let's move on to complications again. Self-harm or mutilation. Truth time. I used to cut myself, as well as try to break my own arm and bash my head into things, all of which are types of self-harm. Suicidal thoughts and behavior. I've had at least 7 major suicide attempts in the past. Not really proud of myself for that, but I'm here. Must mean something. Sexual dysfunction. I've definitely had this happen. Like I said, it's basically when you can't get aroused enough to do anything. It's not fun when it happens, but it's something that you live with. Alcoholism and drug use disorders. I've never done drugs, but I actually did used to drink heavily. Not enough to land me in the hospital, but enough to numb what's up here and everything else. Which is, I guess you'd call it a buzz or tipsy. Something like that. Not quite drunk. Depression and anxiety disorders. Depression and anxiety are 2 big things in my life, and I've lived with them for years now. PTSD. I do have this, actually. But it's mainly focused around blood work and shots, dental work, and people driving too fast since I've been in multiple accidents. Which, all of those things can cause major PTSD. They are a different type, but they do happen. And I feel like I also do have a little bit of childhood PTSD from people yelling at me all the time. I always have Like, if someone starts yelling, I immediately assume they're mad at me. So, I don't know what that's a part of, but I'm just going to chalk it up with there. Personality disorders. This is interesting. I've been known to act a bit antisocial at times, and sometimes a bit OCD. I didn't think it was a part of this. Same paranoia. So, I guess I have this one? I'm not entirely sure. Sleep disorders, including nightmares, insomnia, and sleepwalking. Insomnia is what I have, and it is a pain. And I say that with the utmost truth. I don't sleep much. And when I do sleep, it's rarely restful. Like, that's the reason I usually record so early, because I'm probably going to wind up sleeping all day, unless I decide to get my ass out of bed and do something. Eating disorders. Honestly, my problem is not wanting to stop eating and drinking sometimes. So, yeah, this one seems about right, especially when it comes to, like, sweets. I can't stop myself. It's like this weird addiction to just stuff myself and make myself, like, physically sick. I don't know why. It's not like I enjoy it. It's just a thing that happens. Physical symptoms such as lightheadedness or non-epileptic seizures. Now, I've never had the seizures, but I honestly frequently lightheaded for no real reason. So it seems legit. In fact, I actually was lightheaded earlier when I was just kind of hanging around the house. And I nearly fell over and hit my head on something. Pretty bad. Major difficulties in personal relationships and at work. Definitely me on both fronts. I've had issues, as I mentioned, with girlfriends and fiancés, and I actually have been let go from multiple jobs, or I had to quit because it became too much. So I pretty much have all these complications, or at least most of them. I managed to gain control over some, such as drinking. The others, though, I still need help with. So where does this land me? Well, honestly, I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't just self-diagnose myself because that's a taboo thing. But I will say it's looking very much like I have this, because it seems to fit me almost perfectly. I won't know until I go and, talk to a proper therapist. Now, the issue with that I found out is I actually am subscribed to a YouTube channel of someone who has 4 distinct personalities. And she made it very clear that a lot of therapists do not take this condition seriously, despite the fact that it's affecting a major part of the population in certain areas. So, me getting help with this, I feel like that's going to be a tricky thing, and it might be a whole other thing for me to do introspective on the more I learn. As it stands right now, I'm going to assume that I have this, but I'm not going to be like, oh, this happened because I had this go on. If something does go on, though, that is very out of character, I probably will talk about it. That said, this is a very interesting topic. I urge you guys to do your own research on it. Look up videos about D.I.D. on YouTube. There's plenty of YouTubers out there who have this and want to talk about it. I honestly am a big fan of this. I'm a big advocate for their support. And a little note, there's this thing going around. I don't know if the movie's out or not, but everyone's talking about, what was it called? Split. I do not support this movie. I think it's garbage that they're trying to do another Jekyll and Hyde story out of someone's mental state. That would be like if they took a movie, called it Manic, and made a bipolar person this crazed, two-faced serial killer or something, because that's obviously not true. Like, they have issues that need help. Or it'd be like if they took, anxiety and made it seem like, or actually, better example, schizophrenia. If they took that and had it be like, oh, schizophrenia, they're gonna kill you because they think that you're their illusion. Something like that. I hate movies that do this. All I really have to say, not supporting that movie. The person who made that movie can go fuck themselves for basically making a bunch of people, and possibly me, look like monsters. But that's all I really had to say today. This video's gone on for nearly 20 minutes. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm sorry if I seem like I rushed it a little. But, as always, thank you for watching. You're all beautiful, valid, and important. I will see you all in the next video. Feel free to like, favorite, subscribe, all that, whatever works on YouTube anymore. Ring the bell. YouTube's confusing. And I will see you guys in the next video. So, stay beautiful.